Okay, so one has to test oneself in the end before no witness or judge but ourselves.
Wow.
Right. That's Friedrich Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And honestly, that quote, it really kind of sets the stage for everything we're going to talk about today,
Uh,
which is the journey of Kwon Ji-yong, G-Dragon.
yeah.
And it just feels like that quote, gets right to the heart of what pushes an artist to constantly change and redefine themselves.
It really does. It speaks to that internal motivation that artists have, that benchmark that's so personal to them and goes way beyond just what other people think.
Absolutely. Now, for anyone out there who might not be super familiar with K-pop, Kwon Ji-young, he's not just a singer, he's this huge cultural icon.
Totally.
He was the leader of the super influential group Big Bang.
Yes.
But he's also this well-respected rapper, songwriter, producer, and he's even a big name in the fashion world.
Huge.
Yeah. So for this deep dive, we've actually managed to get our hands on some really cool stuff. We have this documentary that's really candid.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
and it gives us his own personal reflections on his life and career.
Wow.
And there are these behind-the-scenes glimpses, too.
Very cool.
Yeah. And along with that, we have this really comprehensive biography that just maps out his whole life, his career milestones, and the impact he's had on culture.
I mean, his influence on music and fashion is undeniable.
Yeah. So what we want to do today is help you guys really get to know this artist, like really understand who he is.
Yeah.
Go beyond just the celebrity image you see and get to know the person.
The human being behind the persona.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to explore how he's grown as an artist, the pressures he's faced, and what he's up to now.
Yeah, it's a fascinating story.
Yeah, and we want to give you this well-rounded picture without you having to go and read all of these sources yourself.
That's right. We're doing the heavy lifting for you.
Exactly. Okay, so let's start right at the beginning. Kwon Ji-young was born in Seoul on August 18th, 1988. And it seems like he was drawn to entertainment right from the start.
Oh, yeah, for sure. When he was 5, he was already appearing on a children's program called Bibo.
Wow, 5 years old.
And then when he was 7, he actually was part of this group called Little Rura.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how those early experiences shaped him and his career later on.
Totally. Like what seeds were planted back then.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just a passing phase or anything.
Oh.
He was really serious about dancing.
Oh, yeah, he loved it.
To the point that at 7 years old, he became part of this really popular dance group called Rula.
Oh, wow, I remember them.
They called him Little Rula.
That's so cute.
Can you imagine doing that at that age?
Yeah.
Being on stage, performing in concerts all over the country.
Oh my gosh, the energy. I mean, that must have been such an incredible experience at such a young age to have that kind of exposure.
For sure. But then things took a turn.
Ah.
Yeah, this early time in the spotlight with Little Rula, it suddenly came to an end.
Oh, no.
And apparently he was so disappointed that he decided, get this, at 8 years old, he's like, I'm never singing again.
Wow, what a dramatic exit. It's amazing to think that even at that age, he felt things so intensely.
Yeah, that's a serious statement for a kid to make.
It is. But obviously, that didn't last forever.
Definitely not. So what changed?
Well, it seems like he couldn't ignore his talent for too long.
It always finds a way, doesn't it?
It does. There was this one really key moment. He went with his family to a ski resort.
Okay.
And he entered a dance competition there, and he actually won first place. And guess who was hosting that competition?
Who?
Lee Soo-man. He's the head of SM Entertainment now.
No way.
Yeah, one of the biggest K-pop agencies out there. And that's actually how he ended up becoming a trainee at SM Entertainment.
Wow. Talk about a twist of fate.
And he trained for a full 5 years.
So he goes from saying he'll never sing again to becoming a trainee at one of the biggest entertainment companies.
That's how it goes sometimes, right? Life takes you in unexpected directions.
But even after all that, he didn't actually debut with SM, did he?
He didn't. He ended up leaving SM after 4 years. Well, from what he said, it sounds like he felt lost, like he wasn't really getting the guidance he needed or enough opportunities.
That makes sense.
He even said it was meaningless time.
Yeah.
Which, it makes you think about how important it is for these young artists to have good mentors and a clear vision for their development.
Yeah, that's crucial. It must be so discouraging to feel like you're not making any progress, especially when you have that passion inside you.
Absolutely. So how did he end up at YG Entertainment? That's another one of those big agencies, right?
Yeah, YG Entertainment. They're part of the big three in South Korea, and they're known for being a bit more hip-hop focused than some of the others.
Yeah, they've got that edge.
So how did he end up there?
Well, this is where hip-hop becomes a huge part of his life.
Okay.
When he was 10 years old, a friend played him some music by the Wu-Tang Clan.
Wu-Tang Clan.
And it was like this, life-changing moment for him.
Wow. That's quite a change from the kind of music he was probably exposed to before.
It is. It's a completely different sound. But he was captivated. He fell in love with hip-hop right then and there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what did he do with this new passion?
Well, he started going to a freestyle rap academy.
Okay.
But get this. This academy was also where the hip-hop group People Crew practiced.
No way.
So here he is, this young, aspiring rapper, learning the ropes from these established artists in the Korean hip-hop scene.
Wow, talk about being in the right place at the right
It
time.
really is. It's like being mentored by the best from the very beginning.
So he's honing his skills, he's immersed in hip-hop culture. What happens next?
Okay, so when he was just 13, he gets this huge opportunity.
Right.
He was featured on the title track of this 2001 compilation album.
Oh, wow.
It was called 2001 Hip Hop Flex.
That's a mouthful.
It is. But not only that, he also released his own song on that album.
At 13?
Yeah. And it was called G-Dragon.
Wow.
And this is what really put him on the map. Everyone was talking about this super young rapper.
So he's 13 years old. He releases his own song called G-Dragon, and everyone's paying attention. What does Yang Hyun-suk, the CEO of YG, think about all of this?
Okay, so obviously he's super impressed.
You think?
I mean, this kid's clearly got talent, right? And Yang Hyun-suk, he's not going to let that slip away.
No way.
So he sets his sights on recruiting him to YG.
I bet.
And you won't believe this, but in the documentary, it says that Yang Hyun-suk actually told 13-year-old Ji-young, you need to convince your mom to sign with YG no matter what.
At all costs, huh? That shows how much he believed in him.
Yeah, even at that age.
So he joins YG. What was it like for him in those early days as a trainee? I mean, we hear so much about how intense the K-pop trainee system is, all the training, the pressure.
Well, he joined YG, and they already had big names like Jinusean and 1TYM.
They're the veterans.
Yeah, but his early days there weren't glamorous at all.
Really?
He was doing all kinds of chores, like cleaning the practice rooms.
Wow, no special treatment?
Nope, none at all. It really shows you that a lot of these K-pop idols, they start from the very bottom. They put in the work.
It's a good reminder that stardom isn't always about the glitz and glamour.
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work behind it. And it wasn't all just about music either.
Oh yeah, YG was known for being strict about school too.
Super strict. They wanted all their trainees to keep their grades up. No excuses.
So he was balancing this demanding trainee life with schoolwork.
That's right. Long hours of practice and then hitting the books.
It sounds like YG had this kind of well-rounded approach, even back then.
Yeah, they wanted their artists to be well-developed in all areas.
And during this time, he met someone who would become a lifelong friend and collaborator.
Oh yeah, during those early years at YG, he and Taeyang, who was the same age, they became super close.
Ah, growing up together in the YG system.
Exactly. They were going through all those challenges together, supporting each other.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And they even worked as backup dancers for some of YG's senior artists.
Yeah, they were learning the ropes, getting that stage experience, and from what we hear, they didn't get much support. They had to figure things out on their own.
Wow, even transporting props on public transportation and stuff.
Exactly. It really shows their dedication, their hustle.
For sure. And then fast forward to 2006, Big Bang debuts.
Yes. It's such a pivotal moment.
A turning point, right?
Definitely. Debuting as the leader and main songwriter for Big Bang, I mean, that was huge.
Yeah, and they really came in with a different sound, a different approach.
Totally. They were innovative. They were involved in the creative process in a way that was new for K-pop.
But they weren't an instant success, were they?
Not exactly. Even with all the talent and hard work, Big Bang's first release, it didn't make a huge splash.
So what changed?
Well, there was this one song, Lies.
Lies, yeah.
The song was actually meant to be Ji-young's solo debut.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But they ended up choosing it as Big Bang's title track.
Okay.
It was released in 2007, and it just exploded. It was a massive hit, and that's what really put them on the map.
So Lies was the game changer.
Totally. I mean, Ji-young was a bit disappointed at first that it wasn't his solo debut.
Oh.
But you can't argue with the impact that song had on their career.
It launched them to superstardom.
Absolutely. And after that, they just kept releasing hit after hit.
Yeah, Last Farewell, Haru, Haru.
So good. They were solidified as top idols.
And apparently The workload was intense.
Oh, yeah. The biography says that he lost something like 15 kilograms during that time, just from all the stress and work of creating those songs.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's serious business.
And he didn't just rest on his laurels either.
Nope, he was always looking for ways to evolve their sound.
He even remade Sunset Glow, that classic Korean pop song.
Oh, yeah, I love that version.
Me too. And that really broadened their appeal, right? It reached people who might not have been into K-pop before.
For sure, it showed that they could connect with different generations, that they weren't just a fad.
And all of this success, it had a massive impact on their agency, YG Entertainment.
Oh, yeah. They basically became YG's golden goose.
Like a huge part of their revenue.
Exactly. To the point where, years later, when the Big Bang members had to do their mandatory military service, even that affected YG's stock prices.
Wow, that's crazy.
It shows how closely tied their success was to the company's overall financial health.
So all this is happening with Big Bang, but he still had his own solo ambitions, right?
Oh, yeah, he was always creating, always pushing his boundaries.
And in 2009, he finally released his solo album, Heartbreaker.
Such a good album. It was really a chance for him to show a different side of himself, his own unique style.
And it was a huge success.
Massively. It sold over 300,000 copies and won Album of the Year at the Mnet Asian Music Awards.
Wow, those are the big leagues.
Yeah, it really solidified him as a solo artist, not just the leader of Big Bang.
And even with his solo career taking off, he still kept collaborating within Big Bang.
Oh yeah, he was always about that teamwork. In 2010, he did the GD and Top He project with his bandmate T.O.P.
Right, I remember that. It was really cool they were able to experiment with different sounds and styles.
Exactly. And it showcased their individual personalities and charisma within the Big Bang framework.
And then over the next few years, he released more solo music that was super successful.
It really established his unique artistic identity. In 2012, he put out the One-of-a-Kind EP, which sold over 200,000 copies and won Best Album at the Seoul Music Awards.
So not just popular, critically acclaimed too.
Yeah. And in 2013, he went on his first solo world tour.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal.
Massive. He was actually the first Korean solo artist to tour those huge Japanese dome arenas.
That's a huge accomplishment.
It is. And he was selling out shows, drawing in massive crowds. It showed that he had a global fan base, that his appeal went way beyond Korea.
It's incredible. And then in 2017, he released the Kwon Ji-yong EP.
Oh, yeah, that one was everywhere. It topped iTunes charts in so many countries.
And sold 1 million copies almost immediately.
Crazy, right? It's like he just kept getting bigger and bigger.
And that same year, he went on his Act 3 MOTTE World Tour.
The largest ever tour by a Korean solo artist?
That's just mind-blowing. It's amazing how consistent he's been with his success.
Yeah, and it's not just luck either. He's incredibly involved in the creation of his music, both for Big Bang and his solo stuff.
Oh yeah, he's hands-on with everything.
He writes and produces most of the songs, which is pretty rare in K-pop.
It is. It shows how dedicated he is to his craft.
He's a real artist, not just a performer.
Absolutely. But amidst all this success, there was also a darker side.
Yeah.
The pressure, the scrutiny, it started to take its toll.
It's tough, that kind of life.
And he started struggling with depression.
Yeah, it can be so hard to maintain that level of intensity for so long.
And then there were the accusations of plagiarism. That must have been really tough to deal with.
Oh, it was brutal. It really got to him. And on top of all that, he was just constantly working, never really getting a break.
Yeah, it was relentless.
It was. And even Yang Han-suk recognized that it was too much. He actually stopped all of his activities for a while so he could take a break.
Wow, that's saying something. Yang Han-suk is known for being tough.
He is. But even he could see that Ji-young needed to step back to prioritize his well-being.
And his first solo album, Heartbreaker, it seems like that was his way of processing a lot of these feelings, these struggles he was going through.
Yeah, it was really personal, really raw. He poured his heart into that album.
And despite all the controversy it faced later on, it was still a huge success.
People connected with it. They felt his honesty, his vulnerability.
Yeah. So what were the accusations about, specifically?
Well, the main one was that Heartbreaker sounded too similar to Florita's song, Right Round.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
There were a lot of accusations of plagiarism flying around.
And that must have been really hard to deal with, especially on top of everything else.
Oh, absolutely. It was a really difficult time for him. But it's interesting because Florita himself actually said that he didn't consider it plagiarism. Yeah. He said he was cool with it.
Wow, that's a big statement.
It is. It just shows how complex these issues can be, you know?
Yeah, like where do you draw the line between influence and copying?
Exactly. Especially when you're talking about music from different cultures.
It's not always black and white.
Nope. But even with all the controversy, his solo concerts were still huge events.
They were.
Yeah.
People loved seeing him perform.
He's got this amazing stage presence.
Yeah. But even then, he wasn't immune to criticism.
There were some media outlets that criticized his performances, saying they were too suggestive.
Really?
Yeah. It seemed like he was always under a microscope, always being judged.
And it wasn't just the media.
No.
There was also the online hate.
Yeah.
Like the cyberbullying and these organized campaigns against him.
It's the dark side of fame.
And that really affected him, didn't it?
It did. He talked about how it contributed to his depression. It's hard to imagine how you deal with that kind of constant negativity.
It's brutal.
And then there was that incident in Japan in 2012.
Yeah, the marijuana incident.
He got investigated for using marijuana, and it was all over the news.
What happened exactly?
Well, he said that he didn't know he was consuming it, that he was drunk at a party and someone gave it to him.
Oh, wow.
But regardless of the circumstances, it was a huge deal.
It must have been so stressful for him.
It was. And he faced a lot of backlash from the public and the media.
It's crazy how one incident can overshadow so much of your hard work.
It's tough. But he didn't let it stop him.
No, he came back stronger than ever.
He did. That same year, he released the One of a Kind album.
Wow, talk about resilience.
I know, right? And some of the lyrics on that album, they hinted at all the turmoil he was going through, the pressure, the scrutiny.
But he channeled it all into his music.
Yeah, he used it as fuel for his creativity.
And then there was that iconic Mama performance in 2014.
Oh my gosh, that was legendary.
It seemed like he was calling out the award show itself.
Yeah, a lot of people saw it as a criticism of how focused they are on popularity and not enough on artistic merit.
It was a bold move.
For sure. And it really got people talking.
He's never been afraid to speak his mind.
Nope. And beyond music, he became this huge name in the fashion world.
Oh, yeah, he's a fashion icon.
Totally. He was going to all these big fashion shows, Chanel, you name it. And eventually, he became a brand ambassador for Chanel.
Wow, that's huge.
That's major. It really showed how far he'd come, how much his influence had grown. He wasn't just a musician anymore. He was this tastemaker, this trendsetter.
And even with all this success, all the fashion, the fame, he still wasn't afraid to show vulnerability in his music.
Yeah. Like in that song, Loser from 2015.
The song was so powerful.
It was. He was talking about loneliness, self-doubt, those feelings that we all experience.
It was a reminder that even someone like him at the top of this game still goes through those things.
Absolutely. It made him so relatable.
Yeah. And that same year, he took another step in his artistic journey. He launched the Peace Minnesone Beyond the Stage art exhibition.
Yeah, that was cool. He was branching out, exploring different mediums.
It showed that he was more than just a musician. He was a true artist.
And a risk taker, too. Stepping into the art world like that, it's not easy.
Yeah, and he faced some criticism.
He did. Not everyone was impressed.
It's tough to please everyone.
It is, especially when you're moving between different creative fields.
And all this time, he's touring constantly.
The man never stops.
And it takes its toll, right? There were reports of him being exhausted, even collapsing backstage.
Yeah, it's physically and emotionally draining to maintain that kind of schedule.
But he kept pushing.
He did. He always gave his all to his fans.
And then, in 2017, he releases the Kwon Ji-yong album, named after himself.
Yeah, that was a really personal album.
It felt like he was stripping away the G-Dragon persona and showing us more of the real him.
Exactly. He was exploring his identity, trying to figure out who he was outside of all the fame and the expectations.
And the documentary, Act 3 MOTTE, it really digs into this theme of self-discovery, doesn't it?
It does. MOTTE stands for Moment of Truth, the End. And it's all about him reflecting on his life, his career, and who he is at his core.
There's that one line he says, "I am Kwon Ji-yong, but I'm not sure who I am, wondering at the border between reality."
It's so powerful, so honest.
It really makes you think about the pressures of fame, how it can distort your sense of self.
Absolutely. And he talks about how he wants to be seen as Kwon Ji-yong, not just G-Dragon, the celebrity.
Yeah, he wants to be recognized for who he is as a person,
Yeah.
not just the image he projects.
And he keeps coming back to this idea of self-testing, which is what we were talking about at the beginning with that Nietzsche quote.
Yeah, constantly evaluating himself, holding himself to his own high standards.
He believes that's where true pride comes from knowing you're living up to your own values.
And his art, his music, it's all part of this process.
For him, creating isn't just a job, it's a necessity.
It's how he relaxes, how he finds clarity.
It's his outlet.
So what's he been up to lately? Where is he now in his journey?
Well, after a bit of a break, Big Bang released a new single in 2022, Still Life.
Oh, yeah. That was a big deal for the fans.
It was their first new music in years. And then in 2023, he announced that he was working on a solo album.
The comeback everyone was waiting for.
Exactly. But around that same time, his contract with YG Entertainment expired.
Oh, right.
And in December 2023, he officially left YG and signed with a new agency, Galaxy Corporation.
New chapter.
A fresh start.
And the comeback is officially in full swing.
Oh, yeah. In October 2024, he released Power, his first solo song in 7 years.
I love that song.
It's so good. And then just a few weeks later, he released Home Sweet Home, featuring Taeyang and Daesung.
Wow, a mini Big Bang reunion.
It was, and that song went straight to #1 on the charts in South Korea.
His 6th #1 single.
Amazing, right? And they even performed together at the 2024 Mame Awards.
They did. It was incredible.
So good to see them back together.
And his new album, Ubermensch, is coming out soon.
February 25th, mark your calendars.
And he's got some amazing collaborations on there.
Anderson .Paak, for one.
Such a talented artist.
And that title, Ubermensch, it's Nietzsche again, isn't it?
It is. That concept of self-mastery, self-transcendence.
It all ties back to his journey, doesn't it?
It does. This idea of constantly pushing himself, evolving, becoming a better version of himself.
It's inspiring.
And he's even got his own solo entertainment show now.
Good day.
It premiered in February.
On NBC and Disney Plus date, so you know it's going to be good.
It's supposed to be really personal, giving us a look into his life and creative process.
I can't wait to see it.
And he's going on tour, too.
A world tour, starting later this year.
It's going to be epic.
I'm sure the tickets will sell out in minutes.
I bet. And it's important to mention his philanthropic work, too.
Oh, yeah. He's doing a lot to give back.
After he was cleared in that investigation in 2023, he started the Just Peace Foundation.
The great cause.
It's focused on fighting drug abuse and using music therapy as a way to help people heal.
That's amazing.
And he's the honorary chairman, so he's really invested in it.
He's using his platform to make a difference.
And we can't forget his influence on fashion.
He's a style icon, a trendsetter.
His brand, Peace Minason, is huge.
And it just keeps growing.
It's no wonder he's called the king of K-pop.
It's a well-deserved title.
He's left his mark on music, fashion, and culture as a whole.
He's a true innovator.
The documentary we've been talking about, it really gives you a glimpse into his life beyond the stage.
Yeah, it's full of these really personal moments.
Like when he talks about feeling like he's in his own Truman Show.
It's kind of a sad thought, isn't it?
Yeah, this feeling that his whole life is a performance, that he's constantly being watched.
It must be exhausting.
And he also talks about how proud he is that he hasn't had plastic surgery.
In an industry where it's so common.
It's refreshing to hear someone embrace their natural beauty.
Yeah, he's comfortable in his own skin.
And you can see how much he cares about the visual aspects of his concerts.
He's involved in every detail, from the stage design to the lighting to the graphics.
It's all part of his artistic vision.
He wants to create a complete experience for his fans.
And the documentary doesn't shy away from showing his exhaustion either.
There are moments where you can see how tired he is, how much pressure he's under.
And his staff is always worried about him.
They try to get him to rest, but it's hard when you're so driven.
And yet, there are these moments of lightness, too.
Yeah, he's got a great sense of humor.
Like when he jokes about drinking.
It's good to see that side of him, the playful side.
And his story about how he met Taeyang in high school, it's hilarious.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
And the way he describes Taeyang, it's so sweet.
It shows how close they are.
The documentary also shows all the work that goes into his concerts.
The rehearsals, the planning, the collaboration.
It's a huge team effort.
And there's this palpable pressure to make everything perfect.
And even his conversations with the YG boss, you can see how much he cares about his music.
He's always striving for the best.
And his time doing his mandatory military service, it seems like that gave him a new perspective on things.
It's a common experience for Korean men to take that time to reflect on their lives.
And then there's that funny bit where he compares his life on tour to being on that reality show, I Live Alone.
It's funny, but also kind of sad.
Yeah, it shows how isolating fame can be.
Even when you're surrounded by people.
And the story about his manager's dream The one about the Golden Castle. It's so random and funny.
It's just a glimpse into their world, the dreams and aspirations that come with success.
And the phone call with Dae-sung, it's so cute.
They're like brothers.
And Dae-sung is so worried about his hair, it's hilarious.
It's good to see that they can still laugh together after all these years.
But there are also these moments where you can see the cracks in the facade.
Yeah, like when he talks about his laughter being fake sometimes.
It's heartbreaking.
It's like he's carrying this weight, this burden that he can't always show.
And that feeling of loneliness, even though he's surrounded by people.
It's a common experience for people in his position.
And the way he uses art as an outlet, as a way to process his emotions.
It's essential for him.
And that raw moment where he says, "It's killing me," you could just feel the pain.
It's a stark reminder of the toll that this life takes on people.
But then you see him interacting with his fans, especially the kids, and he just lights up.
Those moments of connection, they mean so much to him.
And at the final show in Taipei, he's just overwhelmed with emotion.
He's happy, grateful, relieved. It's like a huge weight has been lifted.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Kwon Ji-yong,
It's been quite a journey.
it has. We've seen his rise to fame, his struggles, his triumphs, his evolution as an artist and as a person.
And it all comes back to that duality, doesn't it? G-Dragon versus Kwon Ji-yong, the public image versus the private self.
And his constant quest for self-improvement, for self-transcendence, just like Nietzsche talked about.
Yeah, he's always pushing himself to be better, to do more.
So as we leave you today, we want to ask you, what part of his story resonated with you the most?
Was it his determination, his creativity, his vulnerability?
And what do you think the future holds for him?
Yeah.
Expert.